On behalf of the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame Board of Directors, we would like to welcome you to tonight's induction of the class of 2019.
We have yet another very special night in store for you as we welcome 5 new members to our Hall of Fame.
That's right. We have 2 ladies who excelled in running. As a matter of fact, they were so talented that they still hold records today. On top of that, they had to compete in the tough 1A, 2A landscape of the late 80s and early 90s. We have Stephanie Allman Treadway, who is an all-around athlete but excelled in track. We have Wendy Trehearne Meyers, who excelled in cross-country and track.
Then on the men's side, we have 2 of the very finest all-around athletes Swain has ever had in Nat Watson and Mac Mahan. Each of them excelled in 3 or 4 sports during their high school career, setting numerous records and gaining regional and statewide notoriety along the way.
And finally, we have a patron who was instrumental in the construction of Swain County Memorial Stadium in Bobby Robinson.
Tonight we are going to hear a lot more about the accomplishments of these 5 as we enshrine Stephanie Treadway, Wendy Myers, Mac Mahan, Nat Watson, and Bobby Robinson into the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame as the class of 2019.
But before we do that, we felt it was important that we pause for a moment to honor our friend Steve Claxton. Steve passed away on September 15th after a period of declining health. He was 63.
Steve was a member of the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame. He was inducted as part of the class of 2017.
Not only was he a member, but an instrumental part of the board of directors over the years. Acting as school liaison with the board, Steve and Robert White were part of the group who were involved in the building of our Athletic Hall of Fame.
And on top of that, Steve and his assistant, Vicki Bailey, took on fundraising through the sale of bricks and gathering of information and memorabilia, as well as the upkeep of the Hall of Fame building. He did all of this right up to his retirement. More importantly, Steve was our friend, and we will miss him greatly.
Please join us now in a moment of silence in memory of Steve Claxton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Swain County High School. For some of you, it may have been a while since you've been here. If it has, hey, welcome back. For those of you who are here on a regular basis, thanks for all you do here at Swain County High School. I'll get this microphone adjusted. I guess you can hear me okay, regardless of where you're sitting here tonight. We have so many things to talk about here tonight and share with you on this special occasion. By the way, we are broadcasting live on the Maroon Devils Network tonight, thanks to Joe Holt, and Joe did a lot of work putting that video together and getting everything working there. And thanks to the Board of Directors for our Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame. And I want to mention those right now as we speak, and if they're here, please stand and be recognized. They are Chairman Bob Marr, Vice Chair Chuck Mac Mahan, Secretary Treasurer Bob Thomas, Harry Birchfield, Neil Blankenship, Sonia Blankenship, Boyce Dietz, Jamie Fisher, Danny Muse, O'Neill Muse, Sarah Robinson, and Dan Trehearne. If these people would stand, and let's bring the lights up and recognize our Hall of Fame Board of Directors. And by the way, while on that subject, ladies and gentlemen, on our Hall of Fame board, you have been asked to be at the game tomorrow night and be on the field at halftime for the award presentations at halftime. So please show up tomorrow night at the game. Of course, we host Cherokee, at Swain County Memorial Stadium and Boy Steets Field. Of course, Bob Thomas is going to be there. He'll be on the PA. But if all you other folks would please be there for the halftime ceremonies, that would be fantastic. Also, a special thanks tonight to Michelle Herron for her hard work in putting all this together here tonight and for help with the dinner before the presentation and more. And this is the 18th induction ceremony for the Hall of Fame. It's hard to believe we've had that many classes, but they are a fantastic group, and tonight is no exception. And as I call your name, would you please come up and join me on stage here tonight? Of course, the family of Bobby Robinson. I think Beth and Angie are both here. Stephanie Allman Treadway, Nat Watson, Wendy Trehearne Meyers, and Ryan Mac Mahan. If all of you would please come up, and let's give them a big round of applause as they join us on stage. Now, I'm going to play, Toby's probably going to think I've lost my mind, but I want to just, on a lighter note, I know it's been a really hard week for many of us. We lost such a good friend in Steve Claxton, who was so instrumental in our Hall of Fame and did so much for Swain County when he was involved in the school system as our community schools director and also with the recreation department and in many other regards. As you heard a moment ago, he was so instrumental in getting our Hall of Fame started and that building with Robert White. And he was so instrumental in getting our Maroon Devils network up and running that is bigger and better today, thanks to good work from Toby Burrell and Joe Holt. So Steve was a very instrumental part of what we are doing here at Swain County High School in athletics. Another gentleman who passed away earlier this week, and I just want to mention him to you. He was not from Swain County, but many of you knew him, and that was Coach Steve Cottrell. He was a great coach at Western Carolina University. He went on to later coach over at Hayesville High School. As you know, many of you probably played against his sons, Steve Cottrell, who played basketball and football at Cullowhee and later played at Western Carolina University in football. And of course, Michael, who was a very good basketball player at Cullowhee High School. Some of you played against him. And some of you might have played against Steve Cottrell's grandsons. He had two outstanding grandsons who played and graduated from Hayesville High School and are now playing collegiate basketball. But Steve Cottrell was a good man. We're going to miss him. He was a good part of the Smoky Mountain Conference for several years, as his son Mike is now at Hayesville High School. And when you're friends with coaches who are such integral parts of your life, when they leave your life, it really is a loss. Now, as I mentioned, Toby's probably going to think I lost my mind. But what I'm going to do is something on a little bit of a lighter note, just to bring attention to kind of the theme of tonight's induction ceremony. And that's to shed some light on many of our inductees in the past. And these inductees are included in this tonight. Now, if you have a program like this, I want you to put it down so you can't read it, because if you're using your program, it's cheating. We're going to play a Hall of Fame Trivial Pursuit game, if you will. And I'm going to test your knowledge and see if you know what we're talking about here. And you can just shout it out. We're all friends here. We know each other, and we're going to have a good time with this. But and our Hall of Fame inductees, now this does not include inductees on every team. These are individual inductees that have been inducted into our Swain Athletic Hall of Fame. What is the most common last name of Hall of Fame inductees? And I'm going to give you a clue. There are 4 last names that have 3 members, some are here tonight, in our Athletic Hall of Fame. Mac Mahan, there's one. Schuler is 2. Nope. Britnall. Wright is 1, but that's not in the top 4. What's the other one that has 3 members? It's a little different. It's White. We had Rod, we had Cody, and we had Robert. The other 3 are Mac Mahan, as somebody mentioned, Scotty, Kayla, and Ryan. The Britnalls, of course, Phil Sr., Phil Jr., and John. The Schulers are Heath, Benji, and Danny. Okay, let's break it down one step further. you're going to have to get your thinking cap on a little more, because some of these people are not related even though they share last names. We had 9 last names that have 2 members in the Hall of Fame, not including the ones of Schuler, Brittenell, Mac Mahan, and White. Nope, that was not one of them. But that was a good guess. Do we have some good guesses? Treadway. Marr. Trehearne. We're getting there. That's only 3 out of 9, y'all. You got to do better than this. Come on now. Which one? Brown. Any other guesses? Okay. Here are the 9 last names that have 2 members in our Athletic Hall of Fame. Robinson. Somebody finally got it. Delmar and Bobby, including tonight. Marr. Jeff and Bob. Dietz. Rocky and Boyce. Smiley. Mitchell and Sarah. Brown. No relation. Robbie and Jean. Treadway. Stephanie and Chelsea. Here's one that I had to really search for that you'll remember well. Mitchell. Dr. William Mitchell and John Mitchell. We knew him better as Johnny Buck Mitchell. The Trehearne last name, Tommy and Wendy. And of course, the great name of Wright, Carroll Jr. and Carroll Sr. All right. I'm not going to take all night with this, but we're going to have a little more fun before we get to the serious stuff. Okay, think about this. In our Athletic Hall of Fame, how many brother combinations have been inducted? Oh, you've got them already. I've already heard all 3 names. Schuler, Heath and Benji. Brittenell, Phil and John. And tonight with Ryan and his brother Scotty. All right. Believe it or not, there are 4 father-son combinations. Who are they? Brittenell? Marr? White? Who else? One more. Wright. There we go. Carroll Wright Jr. and Sr., Phil John and Phil Brittenell Jr., Bob and Jeff Marr, Rod and Cody White. Okay. You might figure this one out because we've kind of hit on it already. There's only one brother and sister combination. Which one is that? Oh, okay. That one was obvious. Wendy and Tommy. All right, get your thinking cap on. This is the final one. And again, I'm not including teams, only individuals. We have 2 quarterback to wide receiver combinations inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Who were they? Heath and Benji is right. Danny Muse and Nat Watson. You're exactly right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we kind of had a little fun with that, and here's the reason why. And I think you'll have to agree. One of the great themes of our Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame over the years has been just that. It has been about family. And as we talk about and induct our great 5 inductees tonight, it is all about family. Ryan Mac Mahan, his brother Scotty, and all the work that his mom and dad, Chuck and Joanna, have done and are still doing with the Swain County, whether it was the Board of Education or in the classroom or behind the camera, like Joanna does so well. Wendy Trehearne, her mom and dad were in the school system teaching for so many years. Dan, of course, still involved with the Hall of Fame. Of course, her brother Tommy was a star as well. Bobby Robinson was always involved in Swain County athletics, as were his kids, Angie, Beth, and Robbie were all involved in so many activities at Swain County High School, and Sarah was involved in so many ways. That family theme just keeps being told. Stephanie Allman Treadway, with her brother Kevin, also an athlete at Swain High, and her parents Blake and Ann were always involved from the time they were just kids. And of course, Nat Watson, his mom and dad Charles and Nancy, and of course his wife Marcia was an athlete in her own right. His sons Eric and Michael were great athletes as well. And that just says so much about the Swain High Athletic Hall of Fame and that family tie. And I guarantee you, every athlete sitting on the stage behind me would say, without their family behind them and helping them and pushing them and supporting them, they would not be sitting up here today. And that says a lot about the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame and what we stand for and what we continue to do in the years past and in the years future. All right, let's get on with it. Our first nominee here tonight, our first inductee, Ryan Everett Mac Mahan. I don't know if his brother Scotty has been kidding about, oh, well, I was there first or not. We'll have to find out later. But Ryan played so many great sports. He played football, baseball, and basketball. Graduated in 2010, playing 3 sports, and he was outstanding in all 3. In football, he was All Smoky Mountain Conference, All Western North Carolina, and All State during his senior season. He set a school record and led the state in interceptions with 12, was also 6th in the nation in interceptions, rushed for over 2,000 yards in his career, and was a 2-time All Smoky Mountain Conference in basketball as well, leading the team in scoring during his junior and senior seasons. Ryan finished his career with over 1,000 points on the hard court, selected to the Blue-White All-Star basketball game, was a 2-time All Smoky Mountain Conference selection also in baseball, set school records for stolen bases with 38, and was a finalist for the Western North Carolina 1A, 2A Male Athlete of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Mac Mahan.
I've been nervous all day long for giving this speech, but I'm excited to be here. First off, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for being here tonight. I've been blessed far beyond what I deserve, and without Him, I wouldn't be here tonight. It's such an honor to be here tonight. It's exciting to be inducted to the Hall of Fame with my family here, my friends, and my coaches here to support me. These are the people who have had such an impact on my life, a positive impact on my life. And so tonight it's not just about me, but it's about them as well. First, I want to thank my family. I use the word blessed a lot to describe my life, but I truly am blessed to have the family that I do have. My mom and dad are 2 of the greatest parents that anybody could have. I'm so thankful that they chose Swain as our home. The love that my mom and dad show is indescribable. They sacrificed so much for my brother and I growing up, taking us to practices, taking us to games, buying us shoes and cleats that were probably way too expensive, and having a little of my own. I understand that now, so I apologize for the small fortune that you guys spent. So Mom and Dad, I truly thank you for all that you've done, and I love you guys so much. Athletics has always been a huge part of my life, and whether it was Dad playing around the world in the driveway, or Mom building a putt-putt course in the backyard. I don't know if she remembers that, but I definitely remember that. Or Scotty dressing me up like Deion Sanders with the bandana before I even knew who Deion Sanders was. There's a picture of that somewhere. But athletics has always been a part of my life. Many young athletes growing up, they have a role model. And that could be a collegiate athlete or a professional athlete. I had the unique opportunity to live with my hero. My brother Scotty is an outstanding athlete here at Swain, and he's one of the most influential people in my life. When I went to school, I always could walk a little taller because Scotty was my brother. I wanted to be like him in every way. Now, some of you that know us, you know that we are not exactly alike. I'm very much different from Scotty. But he was always the person that I wanted to model my life after. So I know I was annoying at times, as little brothers can be, but I'm thankful for you, and I'm thankful for your patience, and I'm thankful for your friends. And I told him I was going to give him a shout out tonight. I'm thankful for Coach Brooks and those guys and the rest of Scotty's friends. They made me a better athlete, and they made me tougher. So I really appreciate you guys. Lastly, I'd just like to talk about my coaches. I have so many of you to thank, and I don't want to leave anybody off, but I just wanted to go over some of the ones that meant a lot to me and took me under their wing. All my coaches at some point in time, they were instrumental in molding me as an athlete, but as a young man, and that is paramount to me. The first coaches that I can remember having a profound effect on me were Coach Bob Marr and Coach Britnall. Coach Britnall was one of the toughest men I have ever known in my life. He was also one of the kindest men. He was very matter of fact, and he told you the truth whether you wanted to hear it or not. I remember playing after a game, and he was reading the scorebook, and I had 0 points and 0 fouls. And so he looked me right in the face, and he said, "Ryan," he said, "son, did you even get off the bus to play?" So after I scored my 1,000th point, I saw him a few days later, and he was happy for me for scoring my 1,000 points, but he left me with something. He said, "Why couldn't you do that when you played for me?" So, but Coach Britnall, he is greatly missed, and he's definitely one of my favorites. Coach Bob Marr is another coach that stands out to me as a major influence. Coach Marr brought more to coaching than just schemes and running plays and drills. He taught life lessons. He gave great advice, and he taught us how to be good young men. Now, this story that I'm going to tell it may go over some of your heads, but I remember it like it was yesterday because I was as confused as the rest of the players on the team when he told this one to us. But I know now, Coach, so I'm going to explain it here. So we were all gathered at the end of practice, and we were talking, and he was trying to get our attention, and for whatever reason, we weren't listening, and so he had enough. And so he snapped us into attention. He said, "Now, men," he always called us men. He said, "Men, I want you to know that when a coach is talking, you better listen to him. It's a sign of respect. When a coach speaks up, you need to listen." He said, "It's just like when E.F. Hutton talks." He said, "People listen." And so we're looking around as ninth graders, like, who's this E.F. Hutton guy that he's talking about? And so, Coach, I know about E.F. Hutton now because of you, but if you don't, I encourage you to look that up. It's a great commercial. Coach Blankenship is someone I've known for a very long time. My first experiences with Coach Blankenship is him throwing with Scotty in the summers at the football field to get ready for the upcoming football season. I was usually there running the routes, so there was another opportunity for me to get better. And when I became the quarterback here at Swain, Coach B took over those responsibilities, and he threw with me in the summers. I know that we gave him a lot of shoulder issues. I know he had a shoulder surgery, I think, after all those summers. But when I think of Coach Blankenship, he embodies the culture and the spirit here at Swain County. He's an old school coach, for those of you that know what that means. He always puts his players first. And Coach, I can't thank you enough for all the things that you've done for me and the position you put me in to be successful. Lastly, I want to talk about Coach Patilla. I don't know if he's here tonight or not. Coach Patilla took over my senior season as the head football coach, and it may not mean much to a lot of people, but this was Coach Patillo's first season, and I was his first quarterback. And that meant a whole lot to me. That gave me such a sense of pride to be the first quarterback of a new head football coach here at Swain. We bonded immediately, and I did not want to let that man down for anything. We've had a long journey together. His faith in me never wavered. When I became a teacher, Coach Patillo, he would send me emails every now and then, and if I was having a rough time or something, he would always tell me that I was his quarterback, and now I was his teacher. So those little moments, Coach Patillo, those will always stand out to me, and I appreciate you. Like I said, I use the word blessed a lot and to describe my life, and I truly am blessed to be from Swain County. It's an envious thing to be. People who aren't from here want to be from here. So again, I'm so thankful to be here tonight. I'm so thankful to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm so thankful for the future of Swain County. I'm so thankful that my son, Harrison, gets to grow up here and go to school here. I'm so thankful that my little girl, Baker, who's not here yet, I'm thankful that she's going to get to grow up here and go to school here. I appreciate everybody here that came tonight. I appreciate my family, my friends. Thank you.
Hey, Ryan, you might have been nervous all day, but that was outstanding. And you did play for some great coaches, no question about it. I was reminded a moment ago how old I was when Wendy Trehearne comes in and says, "Wow, your wife taught me in the 6th grade in the AIG program." So anyway, that's the beauty, like Ryan was saying, and I can't echo it enough, of when you grow up with people and later in life, it's such a joy. For example, when you have broadcast games of someone who played, and then you broadcast games of their kids, and at times I've even had the joy of broadcasting games of their grandkids. So it's just a joy to know that family tree and that family theme that we're talking about here tonight is so important at our Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame. But talking about Wendy Trehearne Meyers, an outstanding athlete that was involved in our cross-country track and team and graduated in 1991. She excelled in cross-country and track here at Swain County High School, was the North Carolina 1A, 2A state runner-up in cross-country, the 1,600-meter run, and the 3,200-meter run. Wendy was named All-State in cross-country for both junior and senior seasons. The Smoky Mountain Conference champion in cross-country, the 1,600-meter run, and 3,200-meter run. Wendy was the Smoky Mountain Conference co-runner of the year back in 1991. And she set the school record in cross-country as well as the 1,600-meter and 3,200-meter runs. Her 3,200-meter time of 11:48 and cross-country time of 19:41 are still school records as of today. Ladies and gentlemen, Wendy Trehearne Meyers.
The shortest one up here tonight. It's such an honor to be here tonight. My dad, as many of you know, Dan Trehearne, was one of the founding members of the Hall of Fame board and everything. And from the time he started talking about there's going to be this Hall of Fame, I was like, oh, maybe one of these days I'll make it. And my brother was in the 2nd class, and I waited and waited and waited. And then he called me a few months ago. He's like, you made it. It was so exciting. It's a huge honor to be here tonight, and I'm really actually excited to be here with Steph, because Steph was always kind of my hero. She graduated 4 years ahead of me, and I always really looked up to her in track. I was going to be like Steph one of these days, so you never knew that, did you? So anyway, I can't express what a great honor it is to be here tonight among you, members of the committee, my children, my family, good friends. Aside from being raised in the amazing house I was, because no one could have had better parents than I did, brothers, there was no greater formative experience in my life than my high school athletic career here at Swain County High School. And Dad told me that I had to try to condense this into a 5-minute speech. So it's hard to do that, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I would like to start by thanking some people, and like Ryan said, I'm just like petrified of leaving somebody out. So if you were left out, please know that it was not intentional. But I'd like to start by thanking these people. Rod White, he was my 8th grade track coach and put me in the mile for the first time, and so he kind of sowed the seed for my love for distance running. Frank Manley, who's not here tonight, but I wanted to definitely thank him as well. He was my first high school track coach. Frank coached me the first 2 years of high school track and always encouraged me. I remember in the spring of 1988 when I didn't make it past sectionals in the 2 mile at Hendersonville, he sat down with me as I cried very bitterly and made a plan for making it to state the following year, and I made it. I was very excited. And he got married and retired from coaching track after my sophomore year. But what I said to him for my senior year is I said it would really mean a whole lot to me if you would come and watch me in my last meet. He and Angie drove all the way down to Chapel Hill to watch me my senior year, and I've always really appreciated him doing that. Toby Burrell, for being my track coach in my last, Toby was like the overarching girls track coach in my last 2 years of high school. He was always a very calming presence. That's what I always remember about Toby. The most profound thing Toby ever told me actually was in computer app class. I remember him sitting down in front of the computer when we had those DOS-based email programs and saying, "Look at this, guys, this is going to change everything about how we communicate." And we were like, he's crazy. But he wasn't. It does change everything, but I remember that very fondly about you. So for Oz Waters, for coaching me along with Dad for my last 2 years of high school track and for starting the cross-country team at Swain High. I absolutely fell in love with that sport and still maintain, despite what other people around here think, that it is the best team sport there is. Thanks for being willing to go out on a limb to introduce that sport that's brought Swain really great notoriety. And on that, I would also like to thank Boyce Dietz, because it wouldn't have happened without Boyce's backing. So thank you very much, Coach Dietz. Coach Waters, thanks for laughing and joining in with the guys and I when we would cut our workout a little bit short to jump into the swimming hole at Deep Creek on our really hot days, and never getting upset with us about that. I want to thank my mom, Margie Trehearne, who is my unfailing best fan and friend. I can't ever remember her missing a single one of my races in high school. Cross country, track, road races. There were literally hundreds. And she was always there, always shuttling me here, there, and everywhere. She and Dad also came to a lot of races when I was in college. And when I was in college, I was going here, there, and everywhere to other states, but they always tried to come when they could. To the members of the 89 and 90 cross-country team, we're a small team but mighty, 6 guys and me my junior year. That was the first year we had it. 2 more girls and just a few more guys my senior year. I have never again experienced that level of camaraderie in a peer group. You are and still remain my family. And finally, to my dad, Dan Trehearne, who took to running with a vengeance after the 1988 Olympics. His voracious thirst for knowledge is related to training. He got every book there was on running, trust me, because I read them, was without a doubt the key factor in my dramatic improvements in performance after he and Coach Waters took over coaching me. I remember well many a workout that I hated with a passion. Running sprints up the hill from the Nolan Creek Bridge comes to mind, Dad. Very long runs on Sunday after church and training in the cold of winter and heat of summer. I did them begrudgingly, but I got good and I got fast. Thank you, Dad, for always pushing me, even when it meant that I might not like you very much for a few days after that. To wrap up, I wanted to share a couple of takeaways from my Swain High athletic career. By far, the greatest keys to my success that I've carried with me since those days are twofold, and I would like to leave them with you tonight to think about. Before each race in track, I would come up with a target time I wanted to hit, and I would divide it by 4 or 8, depending on which event it was. If it was The 1600, it was 4 laps. It was 3200, it was 8 laps. In order to get the splits I needed to hit on each lap to achieve my target, and I'd write them on my hand, and I would check them against my time on each lap and make adjustments to my pacing accordingly. The life lesson that I took out of this, and I still use it: set your goals high, but break into small and manageable increments in order to achieve them. It's very effective. Secondly, I did not become very good until I learned to run to beat myself and the clock and not to beat somebody else. There were 2 runners at Murphy that I absolutely hated. They were my total nemesis early in my running career. Their names were Pam Amos and Mary Ruth, and I would be willing to bet that Toby probably remembers them. Ironically, they're both Facebook friends now. They would actively work to box me in during the 2 mile, and I just could not get around them, and I hated them, right? All initially that I wanted to do was just to beat them, right? But I never did until I decided to shift my focus and compete against myself and the clock. The life lesson I took away from that was just to aspire to be excellent for myself, yourself. If I was the best me I could be, everything else would fall into place, and it has. Thank you again to everyone for this great honor you've given me tonight.
Thank you, Wendy. Outstanding job. And again, another outstanding family that we're so happy to have in our Hall of Fame. We want to take just a brief moment here. We want to remind you of the Legends Classic Hall of Fame golf tournament is coming up in just a few days. It's coming up October 5th. If you'd like to play in the event, please contact Chuck Mac Mahan or Jamie Fisher. I know they're both here tonight. He said he saw them up there, so I know they're up there. So please contact Chuck or Jamie if you want to play in that Legends Classic Hall of Fame golf tournament. I think that's maybe a week from this Saturday. Also, if you know of someone, and I know you do, who you think is deserving of being in the Swain Athletic Hall of Fame, please nominate them. Please. Nomination forms are on the Swain County Schools website. We have so many deserving people, whether they are a former athlete, a patron in some regard, but please, if you have that on your heart and your mind, please do that. Follow through with that. Also, our good friend and Hall of Fame member, Sandy McCracken, would like to issue a challenge to everyone to donate to the brand new multi-purpose building. If you haven't seen it, it's up there beside the football field, and it will benefit all of Swain County High School students, not just athletes, but students, in a very positive way. And Sandy has already donated a sizable amount, and she would love to see you do the same. So if you're interested or you have any questions, you can contact Toby Burrell or Mark Sale here at the Swain County Schools office. So please give that careful consideration. And by the way, if you were driving in and you saw a lot of dirt and dust, please pardon our dust, so to speak, because Swain County High School is in the early stages of a much-needed expansion. So we're growing, and we're giving it our best and then some. Also tonight, we're going to be inducting a patron, and we've had so many good patrons over the years, and I got to know this fella in a family way, as I'm actually married into the Robinson family, and we're talking about Bobby Robinson. And of course, he has family with us here tonight. Bobby, a lifelong resident of Swain County. At Swain High, he was an outstanding football player, and if you remember, he was dubbed Glue Boy for his ability to catch most any pass thrown. He officiated high school football as well for many years throughout the Western North Carolina area and remained a faithful supporter of athletics and education at Swain High School all his life. As we mentioned, Angie, Beth, Robbie, they were always involved in activities at Swain High and athletics. Bobby was a fixture along the fence line at every Maroon Devil home game where he cheered on his Maroon Devils. And after his death, a marker was placed along the fence at Swain County Memorial Stadium where he stood for so many years. And Bobby was also instrumental in the construction of Swain County Memorial Stadium, and we're going to get Coach Dietz to talk about that in just a minute. He assisted and supervised the entire stadium building process, and we're so proud of that stadium today. Prior to Bobby's death in 2008, he established the Bob Robinson Family Scholarship Fund for graduates for Swain County High School. And to date, 10 different graduates, some for multiple years, have benefited from his generosity and foresight. Now we have both his daughters on stage here. Angie and Beth are both here tonight. Now they were kind of flipping coins and drawing straws as to who was going to speak here tonight, so I let that up to them. But we're proud that they're both here tonight as we're inducting R.G. Bobby Robinson.
On behalf of the Robinson family, thank you very much. Our daddy loved the school and he loved Maroon Devil football. And he is certainly smiling down tonight saying thank you and what an honor. And tomorrow night, as he would say during every football game, you'll probably still hear him yelling, "Throw the ball." Thank you again.
Thank you, Beth. As a matter of fact, Angie's basketball team has already been inducted into the Swain High Athletic Hall of Fame, so we're glad to have Angie back as part of that fantastic team back in the day. Beth and I were classmates. I'm not going to say what year as we move right along here on the Hall of Fame induction ceremony here tonight. But we're so proud of all of our inductees here tonight. And speaking of track and field and being great at different sports, this young lady certainly was. Stephanie Almond Treadway played 4 sports at Swain High and was outstanding in all 4. Stephanie was the 1987 1A, 2A, 800-meter state runner-up, finishing 3rd in the 1A, 2A state championships in 1986. And back then, as you know, when you combine 1A and 2A, it's a tougher row to hoe, if I can use that analogy. In 1987, Stephanie was the Smoky Mountain Conference sectional and Western Regional 800-meter champion. 3-time Smoky Mountain Conference champion in the 800-meter, breaking previous Smoky Mountain Conference 800-meter record. Stephanie also broke the school record in the 800-meter 6 times, with her best time of 2:25.29. Stephanie was a 3-time All-Smoky Mountain Conference performer in track, All-Smoky Mountain Conference in basketball, a 4-year starter in basketball, the member of the 1985 Volleyball Smoky Mountain Conference Tournament Championship team, and was a member of the Lady Devil basketball team that won the 1987 North Carolina Scholar Athlete Team Award for the Team GPA. Ladies and gentlemen, a proud member of Swain County for so many years, and our newest inductee, Stephanie Almond Treadway.
So Ryan, you've been nervous all day. I've been nervous since Toby told me. I am not a public speaker, and so bear with me. I would like to say thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for awarding me this opportunity and honor of representing Swain High Athletics and being a part of this induction class of 2019. I accept this award in honor of my husband, my family, my coaches, and my teammates. Without all these people, I wouldn't be here accepting this award. These people have provided me the support, encouragement, and determination for success that helped me obtain the accomplishments that I have achieved. As part of the notification of this award, we're given a copy of the nomination form. When I read the nomination form, I myself was just surprised at the information that was on it, not because I was proud or conceited or anything like that, but I was just like, where did all that information come from? I've never been one that's kept up with my stats, with the number of wins, the number of awards, honors. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to participate and make my teams, my coaches, my parents just proud of me. It was about being competitive, but more than that, it was about just being a team and being friends and having fun. The form was actually completed by my husband, Wally Treadway. After looking at it, I realized that he knows a lot more about me than I know about myself. Thank you, Wally, and thank you for honoring me and nominating me, and most of all, believing in me. A big part of being a good student athlete and successful in life is just having that love and support of the people around you. As most have said tonight, I was blessed to have all that growing up. My parents, they were always there for me to help guide and support me. My dad, who is a very successful athlete himself, he helped drive and also train me. We went to many evenings after work and after school, running up Deep Creek, doing all the road races. He could find any road race around. He also registered me for the AAU Junior Olympics one year in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm still amazed with technology today, you can find just about anything, and how he came up with these things for me to do and participate in, I'll never understand. But we went to Birmingham, Alabama when I was 12, and he took me there to compete. Then he arranged for me to train with Mr. Ernest Widenhouse. I don't know if a lot of you might remember him. He was well known for running in our community, and he would come and run and train with me. And then some of you younger ones might remember one night at a football game, my dad had arranged for me to try to beat a national record, and arranged for a WCU, a Western Carolina men's track member, to come down and run and pace me in order to break that record. And I did. And I thank you, Dad, and I thank you for pushing me and believing in me, and once again just finding these opportunities for me. My interest began to develop even more in the 7th grade. We didn't have track or cross country in 7th or 8th grade. However, we had field days, which were an opportunity for us to compete amongst each other with other students in track and field events. Coach Doug Clemens, he took an interest in me and saw that I enjoyed running, and I think he kind of just liked to watch me run and beat the boys, actually. And so we began to run more and more in PE, and then we began to run around the cemetery across from the middle school, and he'd mark it off, and he'd start timing us, and we'd go over there and run. So after that, I transitioned to high school, where I had the good fortune of having Frank Manley as my coach. Coach Manley, he worked hard with our girls' track team. We only had about 14 to 16 members each year. So that meant trying to figure out a way to get everybody in certain events and to match up and get the best relay teams he could. And he did that with such a small group of us, and he was determined to make us a success out of all of us. Once I had qualified for regionals and state, it just kind of became just Coach Manley and I, and us running on the weekends up to Deep Creek and back. And I just thank Frank Manley for all that he did for me and for his support. And as many of you know, I'm always nervous and have a lot of anxiety, and he was always there to calm me down and help me through. The best part of being in Swain County is our community. We are truly blessed to live in the area that we live. I know growing up that I always had the support of my community. So many times I would have people come to me and congratulate me, send me cards in the mail, send newspaper clippings. It was just always just so uplifting to see the number of people who kept up with Swain County students and athletes and were supportive and encouraging. Every sport, though, is about being a team. I owe a lot of my success to my teammates. My teammates were always there for me, and they were my biggest cheerleaders. Once again, I was always nervous, and they were there to help warm me up, to give me pep talks, and I could always hear their screams and cheers of encouragement in every race. The relay team members for both the 800 and the 1600 meter relays were Amy Stevenson, Sheila Galitz, Sonia Blankenship, and myself. The bond and sisterhood that we shared is what made us winners, and I thank my team. I'm proud to be a Swain High alumni, athlete, employee, and now a Hall of Fame inductee. I hope that the legacy that I left for students and athletes at Swain County Schools is much more than just being a great athlete, but that hard work, support, and friends will help shape you into a great person. Once again, I'd like to thank this committee. I'd like to thank my community, my teachers, coaches, mentors, my friends, and most of all, my family, for all of your love and your support. The records that I set no longer stand today. However, each generation leaves behind a goal for those that follow to shoot and strive to be better. We have all been the best in our day, but our current students and our generations that follow are the then some. I always look forward to seeing those who follow and what they will accomplish on the playing field, on the court, and in life. And I wish all of them much success and happiness. Thank you all.
Have you noticed that family theme keeps coming back in the comments from our inductees here tonight? And yes, Stephanie, some of us do remember the night you were at Swain High Memorial Stadium breaking that record at the halftime of the football game. We do remember. And speaking of that stadium, I want to back up just a little bit. I skipped over it just a little bit. I want to bring Coach Boyce Dietz up here with us, because he worked hand in hand with our patron inductee tonight, Mr. Bobby Robinson. And I want Coach Dietz to speak to that subject and share just what Bobby did. And I know all the work Coach Dietz and so many of his assistants did. And it's good to have one of our Hall of Fame members, Coach Boyce Dietz, with us tonight. And Coach, good to have you with us.
I figured I'd get some way to get up here. First of all, these two ladies, congratulations. Bob Setzer used to coach at Western Carolina University, and he's deceased now. Great football coach. He told me one time that he pledged to himself the last sprint he ever ran as a college football player that he'd never run another step in his life unless it was an emergency. These two ladies actually loved to run. And I mean run, and I wondered a lot of times if Wendy even had a heart, because she just go. And I mean, and just smile. And Stephanie was just like, she just running, splitting the wind, and it just never was. It didn't ever seem like it made her tired or anything. It was just awesome. And we are so proud of y'all. We are really proud of y'all. And Ryan, you talked about Sam Patillo. The first championship we won here, Sam Patillo was the quarterback. And one reason you probably take to him, as we say sometimes, you and he were much alike. Both of you got the job done. You really didn't put yourself out in front. It was all about the team. And I can see why y'all did so well together. And if I could, Gary, please. And to Nat, before they've not inducted you yet, but you were, I was coaching at Sylvia Webster High School when Nat played, and he was left-handed, if I remember correctly. And Coach Hal up at Sylvia Webster, he thought they wasn't nobody like Nat. And I finally figured out later why it was, is Coach Hal was left-handed too. And the first thing, we'd start looking at film on somebody, and he'd say, that fella kicks left-footed. That fella throws the ball left-handed. And that's what Coach Hal did himself. So I think he kind of, but Nat, it didn't matter. He was a great, great player. There's some people, when we'd play Swain, when I was at Sil, that you always remembered, and he was always one of the top. I mean, it was just, he was an awesome player. But I came down here and meant to say something about Bobby Robinson. He became a great friend of mine. First time I ever even knew who Bobby Robinson was my junior year in high school, and I was playing left guard, and I pulled on a particular play, and the quarterback fumbled the ball, and it just happened to pop straight up, and I picked it. It just kind of come up in my hands. and I ran way around the corner and got about a half a yard. But I'll never forget the umpire. He came up and hit me on the butt, and he said, I didn't know who Bobby Robinson was, but that's who it was. And he congratulated me on really being on the ball and picking that ball up. And well, that's the greatest thing happened in that game that night, for that referee to brag on what I was doing. And then later years, when I came down to Swain, I got to know Bobby, and he was a football fan. He is very fanatical. And I got to know him, and he had so much ability, and he had the ability to build things, and he always wanted it perfect. If you went to his house, and when he was building his house, it had to be perfect. And he had to drill all the holes just perfect and run everything in it and that's the way it was. But he hung on the fence a lot, and he'd always holler at me, "Hell, Dietz, can't you throw the ball? Throw the ball." And he told me one time, he said, "Do you know why that ball has points on the end of it?" He said, "It's so you can throw the ball." And so I remember that strongly. But when we started building the stadium, he was real instrumental. He knew a lot about engineering and this and that, and know when something was built right and when it wasn't. And one morning he woke me up about 5:30, and he said he had been up at 3 o'clock. And the home side up in the stadium, we were building it, and we had a contractor to come in here to build it. And literally, he said, I was thinking at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're putting that thing in backwards. He said, if they build it the way they're building it, the stands is going to be looking out on the highway. Well, he was right. They were putting the columns in just opposite of what they're supposed to be. And at 3:30 in the morning, once that hit him, and he called me at 5:30, and we met up here about 8 o'clock. And sure enough, they did, and we had to get the engineer and all that, and had to re-engineer it and tire some of it out and all that. But he did such a good job, and I just have so many memories of him, and I loved him. When we were playing, some of y'all may remember when we were playing Murphy, and they'd won 27 in a row. And we were 9-0, and we played probably the greatest game I ever coached in. And the night we beat Murphy and Carl Pickens and all up here. Bobby, he kept hollering, throw the ball, Dietz. He was hanging on the fence. And after a while, we finally stuck another one in and scored. And he went up and told Joe Allman, he said, I told him to throw the ball. I believe if he'll just go on and do what he's doing, we may win this football game. That's the only time I ever known him to admit that he was maybe wrong on something. That's probably one of the only times. But I appreciate him. He was so good to us. I hope we don't forget all the things that happened to us through the years here. We've had a lot of people that's been so instrumental, and a lot of them's gone and passed by. And I hope we don't forget it, because we need to look in the future, Stephanie, but we need to never forget where we've been. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Dietz. Now, I always heard this said about Coach Dietz. I don't know if it's true or not, but he was bringing up the point about Bobby always yelling, throw the ball, throw the ball. I think it was Coach Dietz's philosophy that when you threw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them were bad. 1 was incomplete, and 1 was the interception. So 2 out of 3 wasn't a good ratio for Coach Dietz. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway.
Well, it's true till Pete and some of them come along.
Okay. Oh boy. Talking about throwing the football, if you go on the North Carolina High School Athletic Association team and record book website, Swain County's in there a few times. I was looking at that today, and Stub Hyde was in there. He's one of our Hall of Fame members. Stub had the most kickoff returns for touchdowns in one game. He had 2 of them back in 1955 against West Fannin, Georgia. And he's in there another time as well. He had the longest kickoff return in history. Back then, you could return it over 100 yards, and it still stands. So Stub Hyde was in there a couple of times. But I went in there to look for this particular stat, and it's still in there because I'd seen it in there before, and it's concerning our next Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Nat Watson. And if you go back to 1969, and again, this is on the North Carolina High School Athletic Association record book website, Nat Watson caught 5 touchdown passes in one game in 1969 against Towns County, Georgia. Obviously, we won that game 81-46. Now, the state record is only 7 in one game, and back then, Nat caught 5. History. But talking about this fella sitting to my left, I've known Nat Watson most of my life. And if you're an upperclassman out there, or if you're listening or watching on the Maroon Devils Network, I want to tell you something. If you're an upperclassman, a senior, a junior, think about the guys playing behind you, the freshmen and sophomores. Because when I was a freshman, you know who I wanted to be like? Nat Watson. Nat Watson could play any sport, and he played it very well. So if you're an upperclassman, you never know who is trying to be like you, who is trying to watch you, who is watching what you do. And Nat did it right. He was always there. He was always friendly to the underclassmen. He always tried to help the underclassmen get better, be better athletes, and be better people. And he was not, even though he was one of the greatest athletes in Swain County High School history, you'd never know it by his demeanor, because that's just the way Nat is. Nat is a guy that puts his team and his teammates first, and he's always been that way. He is, in my mind, one of the consummate team players in Swain County athletic history. Let me tell you a little bit more about this fella, as you probably already know. Nat played 4 sports here at Swain County High School and was outstanding in all 4. In football, Nat was all Smoky Mountain Conference, all Western North Carolina, and Asheville Citizen Times all-scholastic team during his senior season. Nat was a 3-time all Smoky Mountain Conference selection in football, 3-time all Smoky Mountain Conference selection in baseball, and 2-time all Smoky Mountain Conference in basketball, and was also all Smoky Mountain Conference in track, for a total of 9 all Smoky Mountain Conference recognitions. That's pretty outstanding. Nat set a school record in receiving as a sophomore. As we mentioned, most TDs, 5, and most yards in a game, 288 yards, along with 15 touchdown receptions in a season. And besides all that, Nat averaged 43.8 yards per punt as a senior. If you know anything about that stat, there aren't many players in college football today averaging almost 44 yards a punt, believe me. It's a phenomenal stat. Nat also signed a full grant and aid to play football at Western Carolina University, and he played under the legendary Bob Waters. Nat played football and baseball at Western Carolina University as well. And the reason I say Nat was a consummate team player, he did it all here at Swain High. His freshman year, he played quarterback. His sophomore year, he set the record as a wide receiver. His junior year, he was moved back to quarterback, and his senior season, they actually moved Nat to fullback. So Nat just did whatever the coach wanted him to do, and he did it very, very well. But he did it from a very young age. I did find out that when Nat was on the Mike football team, his Mike football team was unscored on, and that's pretty phenomenal in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, our latest inductee, Mr. Nat Watson.
Gary, I'm not sure exactly who you were talking about there. couldn't have been me. Just a second. I'm not used to speaking in front of a crowd. It's been a long time. But to the members of the Hall of Fame board, to our honored guests, congrats to all the people who are here tonight that are accepting awards or new inductees. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have mixed feelings about some of the awards that I received, especially the Towns County game. That team only had played 2 years. They had never won a football game. We as a team had a scrimmage, and we played it like a football game on a Thursday afternoon. We used somebody named D.D. Wood. I don't know if you know him or not. His mother was a teacher. His father worked here in town, who also played some pro ball. And we put him at fullback for that day, and we had a grand time. But the next day, I don't know if we had an article in the paper, and it stated that we were in fact going out to set some records. That was our goal. So I have mixed feelings. I'm not sure that those awards are really justified. So I can't really claim those awards. Any end on our team could have done what I did. And in Danny's respect, I think any quarterback could have threw the pass, and we could have done it too. I had a teammate named Larry Beck, and I know you've heard that name. Tremendous running back, just a natural talent. Never lifted a weight, strong as an ox, fast as he could be. He carried the ball 5 times for over 400 yards in that game. So you can see what we were up against. Another good story to that game, we had a manager. He had, at the beginning of the year, he had came out and he had played, he had tried out and done the 2-a-days for the first 2 weeks. And then he decided that maybe I'm not football material. So he went to Coach Barden and he asked, Coach, I don't think I want to play football, but I'd love to manage your football team. So he did. He was a preacher's son. He moved here in the 7th grade, and he left after his sophomore year, which is the year I'm talking about. And Coach asked him, he said, Earl, would you like to play in this game? And his father gave him permission, and we put him in the uniform. And he played middle linebacker. Allergic to grass, had no athletic ability whatsoever. But he made it to a place that there's not a lot of people in this community that have made it to. He graduated from Rowan County High School, which is where they moved once they left here, and he became, well, he worked for the Fayetteville Observer for 38 years as a scholastic sports editor. He couldn't play, but he loved the sport. And he is inducted into the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame. Now, for a kid who couldn't play, he sure had the desire to love football. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if you knew it, you've ever heard of it, but I want that on record for Earl because he was a friend of mine, and I told him I'd do that for him. So I think I got all my facts straight with him, and I sure hope so anyway. He'll let me know if I hadn't. Let's see. Again, I'm not real used to speaking in public. You gave me the 65. I appreciate the mic thing, because that would have never been mentioned again either. I played for the same reason Stephanie ran, because I love to play. Win or lose, I had fun. Losing's not, it can't be real fun, but you participated, and participation means a lot. I mean, you can sit on your hiney at the house and say, boy, I wish I had played. Well, you had the chance. Just go play. But my greatest joy didn't come from me playing. It came from watching my children play. That was easy. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to work out. Didn't have to run any sprints. But I got to play with them. And you know, as a parent, when they play, you play. And that's one of the greatest feelings I've ever had. I want to thank my wife, my children, especially Michael, for his, I'm not sure what the word is. If you know Michael, you know that he talks a lot. He's now a pastor in a church, and he has the gift of gab, kind of like his mother. But he was instrumental in petitioning for me to be where I'm at today. So, Michael, God bless you. I love you. And to the rest of my family, the same. I love you too. My mom can't be here. She's 83. She's on oxygen. She called me today and asked me if I'd be mad if she didn't show up. And I'm not mad at her at all. She's probably watching now via the satellite. And I just want to let her know that without her, I would never have been the player I was, because she took me everywhere. She signed me up for everything I did. She signed me up for football, basketball, baseball, bowling, and we bowled together, which was a lot of fun. And she even learned how to play tennis. I taught tennis for a number of years and taught my mom how to play tennis. She was always mad because I catered to the other women. But that was okay. She understood. So, Mom, if you're listening, I love you and thank you. And to all the people out there that have children that have the ambition to play, please tell them, try it. Give it a shot. It never hurts to try. If you don't try, you'll never know. So, to everybody here, to the Hall of Fame staff, to the inductees, and to all the inductees that came before, I'm so proud to be inducted into the Swain County Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Nat. I tell you, for people who sounded nervous being up here, I'm not sure I've ever heard so many really wonderful acceptance speeches as we've heard tonight. And outstanding job by all of you, just outstanding. And again, I know the families that these people come from, and I know, as Nat echoed again, family means so much to our Hall of Fame and to these inductees and when they were growing up, and I think that's a big reason why they were up here tonight. I want to thank you on my behalf for joining us here tonight. We're going to bring our athletic director up, Neil Blankenship, and let him close out the program. A lot of good words were said about him, and he's doing a fine job. Don't forget, we've got Cherokee tomorrow night, and that's when the Hall of Fame inductees will be recognized at halftime with the Hall of Fame board members down on the field. Please remember that. As all our athletes like to call him, Coach B, the mic is yours.
First of all, we are truly blessed about where we get to call home. You've heard that several times tonight, and when you work here, people come through here all the time and either say, can you let me into the Hall of Fame, or they take pictures of our stadium, they take pictures of our place, or even last year I had a guy come by and wanted to play a prank on his buddy. He played a playoff game up here years ago, and he got knocked out on this field. And he says they talk about it all the time when they're together, so he came by to get a maroon helmet, so that when he opened it, that's what he got to see. That was the last thing he saw on this field, was a maroon helmet hitting him. And that was his prank to his buddy, was that he wanted to have a maroon helmet. So we get all kinds of requests here, and that was one of the strangest ones I ever did before. So we are truly blessed what we have, and we're truly blessed for the people who came before us to help give what they did for us, this place. We have a special place. I tell our kids all the time that it's the best in the state. And we are truly blessed about what we have. To the board, thank you for all your hard work. People are envious of our Hall of Fame. They're envious of our building. We get calls all the time about how we do things here, and we're blessed, and I appreciate all your hard work. To the 2019 inductees, thank you. Congratulations for what you did for Swain. Congratulations for being in the class, and you're joining a great team. If Mr. Thomas will come up, and he'll do what he does for us there all Friday nights, and we'll close with a school song.
First, the bag is for Scotty. He's such a Carolina fan. The plaques haven't arrived yet, and I didn't want our inductees to go home empty-handed, so digging through the archives, I came up with something. So the official Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame shirt. And if they don't fit, see me and I'll exchange them. Wendy? Stephanie? Ryan. And Nathaniel. Wow, what an evening. Each one of these induction ceremonies is just a walk down memory lane. When Coach B asked me if I would lead the school song, I thought, well, a lot of former students would definitely know it, the alumni, but it has a history. When the school was being built, and the teachers had an opportunity to come over on a bus and pick out the rooms, I was fortunate to get the room that faced the parking lot. And sometime after that, the county acquired a maroon and white garbage truck. How cool is that? So, as one of the requirements for my class, my students learned the school song. They had to write it, they had to capitalize, they had to punctuate properly, and they would sing it. And the cue was always when the garbage truck rolled through. Some cue, but anyway, it worked. Plus, it got them out of a few minutes of class. I pulled up at one of the fast food restaurants, and the girl evidently recognized my voice, and so, may I take your order, please? Swain, hi, and then she started singing the school song, so I knew she had to be a former student. But anyway, we're steeped in history, and if you've been around here for a while, you know the precious memories, and they will only grow more precious as the years do go by. Would you please stand now for our school song? Please join us, alumni and everyone present. Ready? Swain high, we ever praise thy nobleness, and we have for thee a feeling we can ne'er express. Thou art majestic, Swain high, 'neath the Carolina blue. We salute thee, Swain high, and to thee will e'er be true. With colors of maroon and white, with standards always for the right, we hail the alma mater and sing praises that are due. Go Big Maroon!